Some stories begin quietly and then explode in ways no one could predict it. It was a late September evening in 2017 at St. Augustine's Medical Center, a mid-sized hospital in Elmwood, Ohio. Elmwood was the kind of town where everyone knew your name and everyone knew your business. The hospital itself had a reputation for being diligent, if not entirely impeccable. Doctors worked long shifts, nurses juggled endless patient loads, and the custodial staff quietly kept the wheels turning, often unnoticed. Marty Jenkins had been janitor there for nearly a decade. She knew the building like the back of her hand. The squeaky elevator on the east wing, the janitor's closet by the ICU, the secret shortcuts that saved 10 minutes on a night shift. Quiet, observant, and meticulous, Marty often noticed things others overlooked. On this night, she was doing her usual rounds, emptying trash bins, restocking supplies, quietly humming a tune she had learned from her granddaughter's favorite nursery rhymes. The halls were mostly empty, save for the occasional nurse hurrying between rooms. Room 12, in particular, had always struck Marty as odd. It was in the older wing, with faded wallpaper and the faint smell of antiseptic mixed with bleach. The patients there were rarely long-term. Normally, it was post-op recovery or short-term observation. But tonight, something made Marty pause outside room 12. She heard it, a whisper. She knows. The voice was low, hurried, almost panicked, and it was unmistakably Dr. Leonard Harris, a respected surgeon known for his calm demeanor and decades of service. Marty froze. Her heart pounded. She knew Dr. Harris. He was meticulous, almost intimidating in his precision. What could he mean by she knows? And who was she? Marty's first instinct was to ignore it. Hospitals were full of hushed conversations. Doctors and nurses spoke quietly all the time. But something about the tone, a mixture of fear and urgency, made her blood run cold. Her curiosity, however, outweighed her caution. She edged closer to the door, pressing an ear against the frame. Inside, she glimpsed a young woman lying in the hospital bed, pale and frail. Her eyes were open, wide with confusion, and a faint bruise marred her cheek. The doctor's figure loomed near the bedside, his posture rigid, whispering again, "If anyone finds out, it's over. She can't talk. She mustn't." Marty's stomach churned. This wasn't just a whisper about medical care. It was fear, panic, something criminal, something wrong. The next morning, Marty couldn't shake it. She tried to push it from her mind, but the image of a young woman, her fearful eyes, and the doctor's whispered threats replayed over and over. Marty confided in a colleague, Joan, another janitor. Joan listened, skeptical but supportive. "You don't think?" she asked, her voice low. Marty nodded. "I don't know. Something's off. That kid, she's in trouble." Together, they decided to keep a discreet watch on room 12. They documented comings and goings, noting unusual hours, whispered conversations, and patients who seemed different from their records. Marty even started taking careful notes in her pocket notebook, jotting down dates, times, and snippets of overheard conversations. It wasn't long before the pattern emerged. Dr. Harris wasn't alone in his secrecy. Nurse Angela Kim, a relatively new hire, was often present during these hush encounters, appearing tense and hurried. Patients in room 12 were consistently discharged quickly, often without full explanation, and some returned days later with vague complaints, only to disappear again. Marty realized she couldn't do this alone. She contacted Detective Henry Collins, an Elmwood police officer known for his methodical approach to suspicious cases. At first, Detective Collins was skeptical. A janitor raising suspicions about a hospital seemed far-fetched, but Marty's notes, the patterns, and her precise observations were compelling. Collins began digging into patient records. That's when the first alarm bells rang. Room 12's admissions didn't always match insurance records. Several patients were listed under false names, and medical files were incomplete or inconsistently filed. The detective realized that the hospital's trusted reputation had been exploited. Someone was manipulating the system, and it appeared premeditated. Why would a respected doctor risk everything in this way? Detective Collins' investigation revealed Dr. Harris had amassed significant debt due to gambling and a series of failed investments. His professional reputation remained pristine to the public, but behind closed doors, he was desperate for cash. Further inquiry uncovered that Room 12 had been used as a covert holding area for patients who could be manipulated into signing over insurance payments, controlled treatments, or even experimental procedures that bypassed oversight. Victims were often young, vulnerable, or isolated. Hardly anyone outside the hospital would notice a missing person for days. Dr. Harris's accomplice, Nurse Kim, had her own motives: job security, influence, and financial kickbacks from fraudulent billing. Together, they created a system where the hospital appeared normal, while they siphoned money, manipulated patients, and silenced anyone who might expose them. The whisper Marty had overheard, she knows, was not just fear. It was a warning. The young woman in Room 12 had discovered the scheme, and Dr. Harris feared exposure. Detective Collins secured a search warrant for the hospital and Room 12. What they found was shocking. Hidden cameras and microphones in patient rooms, designed to monitor and intimidate. Financial records showing falsified insurance claims and illegal medical procedures. Patient charts with false information, manipulated consent forms, and notes of coercion. A storage closet containing personal effects of multiple patients who had mysteriously disappeared, including identification documents and personal items. Most damning of all was a testimony of the young woman, Emily Parker, 19 years old, who had been admitted under a false name. She confirmed Dr. Harris had tried to intimidate her into silence, warning her that no one could help and that she would disappear like the others if she spoke. Emily's courage, coupled with Marty's observation and documentation, built a case that was nearly impossible for Dr. Harris and Nurse Kim to deny. Even as the evidence mounted, the case had unexpected twists. Nurse Kim attempted to shift blame to hospital administration, claiming she was following orders. Internal emails revealed she had been complicit, though coerced in part. A second young patient came forward, revealing that Dr. Harris had tried to sedate her for experimental therapy after overhearing her questioning billing procedures. The hospital initially tried to cover up findings, fearing lawsuits and reputational damage, but the police had secured hard evidence that couldn't be dismissed. Every day seemed to uncover more layers. The system had been manipulated for years, and Detective Collins realized they were just scratching the surface. The courtroom was packed. Elmwood residents, hospital staff, and former patients filled the benches. Dr. Harris sat at the defense table, pale and defeated. Nurse Kim, appearing nervous, glanced at him constantly. Emily Parker's testimony was compelling. She described the fear, the whispered threats, the manipulations, and the courage it took to speak out. Marty Jenkins was called to recount her observations, detailing the exact moments she had overheard the doctor and why she had contacted the authorities. Her precise, calm account carried immense weight. In a dramatic turn, hidden camera footage from Room 12 was played, showing Dr. Harris speaking in hushed, threatening tones to Emily Parker. The evidence was irrefutable. Dr. Leonard Harris was convicted of multiple counts: coercion, fraud, illegal medical procedures, and assault. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Nurse Angela Kim received a reduced sentence due to her cooperation, but still faced 10 years in federal prison. St. Augustine's Medical Center underwent a complete overhaul. Independent oversight, new security protocols, and a task force dedicated auditing all patient care and billing procedures. The hospital's reputation took years to recover. Marty Jenkins was hailed as a hero. She received local awards, media attention, and gratitude from former patients. But she remained humble, emphasizing that anyone with the same courage and attention to detail could have done the same. Emily Parker, traumatized but empowered, became an advocate for patient safety and whistleblower protections, sharing her story nationwide to prevent similar abuses. The case left a permanent mark on Elmwood. It reminded everyone that even trusted institutions could hide dark secrets, and that ordinary people paying attention could uncover extraordinary truths. The story of Room 12 became a cautionary tale for hospitals nationwide. Policies were updated regarding patient rights, oversight of medical billing, and anonymous reporting mechanisms for staff. More importantly, it became a story of vigilance. Sometimes heroes aren't doctors, detectives, or prosecutors. They're the quiet observers. The janitors, the teachers, the neighbors, the ones who notice what others overlook. In this case, a simple act of curiosity encouraged saved lives, exposed corruption, and gave a voice to the silenced. And for Marty Jenkins, every time she walked past room 12, she felt a chill, but also a quiet satisfaction. She had heard the whisper. She had acted, and in doing so, she had changed lives forever.